Well, it looks like it's finally over for all the progressive soy jacks, the people out there performing extremely performative feminism, the men out there who are telling you that you are perfect as you are, and I'm a proud supporter of your liberation. March on, queen, lead us to the future of matriarchy. Take us there, take us all the way, you go girl. The boss babe boys have been exposed as nothing more than grifters, liars, and people just pretending to have politics to sneak their way into your perfectly feminist unshaven pants. In a discovery that's being framed as something highly shocking and controversial, when if you listen to any number of men from the get-go, you'd realize that we all kind of knew this already. Yeah, all of the men who are touting how much of a feminist and how proud they are to support women's liberation are nothing more than grifters looking to abuse this fact to sneak their way into your pants. Big shocker, am I right? The ones wearing the sheep's clothing happen to be the cruelest of wolves. Who could have seen it? When having to choose between a terrible liberal and a terrible conservative, always choose the terrible conservative, because at least he's not lying to you. And that's basically been the way that the dating world has been for the last couple of years, as women have been searching for this perfect unicorn, the performative feminist man, the man who's both a lumberjack and manly and going to do all the hard labor and kill that bug for you, but also the sensitive, bleeding heart who's going to read all of your smut with you and make sure that you understand how much he loves your empathy. I mean, if you look at what women desire, what they beg for, what they plead the world to give them on the internet, on TikTok, they're begging for this perfect man who's everything that they want. The throbbing, veiny member of a werewolf that they read in their most recent romance novel. They think that's in real life and they're looking for it. And so men have decided to start pretending to be that, and now the jig is up. Sorry guys, you've been caught. In a trend known as the performative male, where it looks like men are, well, faking liberalism. They're pretending to dress up in ways that are gender non-conforming. They wear baggy pants that look like they were stolen from their grandfather's closet. They wear baggy sweaters and ugly shirts to make it look like that they're signaling, I'm safe and you're safe with me. Don't worry, I couldn't sexually assault you because I'm actually a homosexual. That's how they dress, but of course they're just waiting for you to lower your guard so they can go in for the kill. And that's exactly what they've been doing. And, well, it looks like women have caught on. Some news articles have found out that this is the case, and then best of all, not only have they found out it's a trend, but they're blaming conservative men for it. Because that makes complete and utter sense. Before we go any further, like, subscribe, and let's get into this. Now, for those of you who don't know what a performative male is, you've seen a million of them all over Instagram, all over TikTok, on Facebook. You've seen them walking through major towns, and they make up most of the population on college campuses. And yes, some of them legitimately are this way, but those ones are actually gay. And some of them legitimately believe that this is the right way to live. But most of the time, it is legitimately the performance. So here you can see one of them. They got the thing in their hair. They're usually wearing corded headphones to symbolize poverty, even though they have all the money in the world to buy real ones. They're wearing the loosely knitted sweaters. They're carrying around CDs, and they're acting like 2000s hippies. They're embodying a thing that women heavily want. You've got this guy right here with the hoopy earrings and the thick-rimmed glasses, but instead of, me being open about what I am, he's pretending. He's embodying something that he himself does not believe. Here's another one. Now, yes, most of these are guys making fun of it, but to be very clear, they're very accurate. Another hallmark is reading the types of literature that women pretend to like. Drinking matcha, because women think matcha is a safe beverage. And the ultimate reason behind this is it makes them look effeminate, non-threatening, and like they're going to support you. It makes you think that, it creates the veneer of the gay best friend. And so they think they found a gay best friend, but also women want to date their gay best friends, and that is the market that men are capturing. Or these men, I should say. It's also the similar market that people like Harry Sisson and Dean Withers, those total faggots, are entirely embodying, is the idea that we're going to look soft, effeminate, and easy. We're going to look so kind and so harmless that you're going to trust us. But of course, both Dean Withers and Harry Sisson have been caught in sex scandals. Of course they have, when you're young and you're pretending to perform this femininity, this softness. Of course you're secretly a predator. Now, the first article I saw discussing this... Please go away. The first article I saw discussing this new trend is from Vox being posted on Yahoo Life. Gen Z created a new type of man to avoid. And both of these articles, while a very fun trend, they blame the men. Now, I'm not saying that these men don't know what they're doing. They very much do, and I'm not saying they're not culpable. They are in some way, but you have to acknowledge the fact that the real issue is that women rejected all other men, and they only accept this specific kind. And no, men aren't going to be who women want, so a lot of them are going to pretend to be what they want, so the women will feel safe and comforted around them. But it's framed as, if you live in a major city, you might have seen what looks like hipster drag show playing out in park or on a sidewalk recently. A parade of young men strutting with tote bags, holding up feminist literature, and showing off their newly purchased vinyls. That guess wouldn't be totally wrong. Over the past month, Gen Z has been holding public contests all over the country, and even intentionally awarding the best impression of performative male. The latest meme taking off on TikTok. It's not really a meme taking off TikTok. Some of it is popping up, but a lot of it is people calling out these men or admitting that that's what they're doing. See, a lot of Gen Z men hate the fake, phony, imposter ones that are pretending to do things to appease women, because all you're doing is you're harming the dating market entirely. The trend seems to be largely in good fun, poking fun at men who do, in fact, genuinely like matcha and mitsuki. There aren't any men who do that. At least not any straight men who'd be in the dating market. But there's a darker interpretation. Maybe these men are not what they seem, and perhaps their tastes and behaviors are all a deception. The performative male has joined a group of suspicious masculine archetypes that came before it, like the two-faced wife guy and toxic male manipulator. And yes, that's exactly what it is. They're pretending to be this so that they can appeal to the female market. But how the internet's nicest guys came to be suspect. And of course, they had to use the nicest guy thing, because everybody knows the nice guys meme. It's, for those of you who don't, nice guy is somebody who thinks they are entitled to women's attention. They think they deserve women's attention because they're kind and they're polite and they do everything that the girls around them want them to do, and so they deserve the attention of women. And well, this is the next step. Men will always be doing so. Some men, not all men, let's be very clear before I get accused of something. Some men will always do something to appease the basal desires of women. That means being overtly nice, being overtly empathetic. That means dressing up in weird ways, doing dumb things to appeal to them, as we'll see in the second article we'll cover in a little bit. From hipsters to soft boys to its more derogatory offshoot, cuckboy, the internet has long questioned the integrity of this genre of men who eschew traditional representations of masculinity either through their personal style or consumption habits. Now, these men aren't abandoning masculinity as a way to virtue signal. They don't know what masculinity is. To be clear, they're only adopting this style because women like it. Now, if women were really into masculinity, they try to copy masculinity, and they would fail to copy that as well because these are not masculine men. They are oftentimes liberally leaning. They are oftentimes of a lower IQ bracket, and they're usually not conservatives in any actual sense. But they are being disingenuous either way. They are dressing up as this soft boy aesthetic because they know it attracts women. But the rejection of masculinity isn't any deeper than that, but they also can't really embody masculinity because they don't know what that means to be masculine. Most of these boys and men grew up without male role models and without fathers. Effectively, what they're doing is they're peacocking. They're showing off their progressive little feather tail to tell the world, look how safe and soft I am. Ultimately, this is the principle of safe horny being played out in the real world. For those who don't know, safe horny is a concept that Tumblr came up with that basically says some people are okay to lust after. Now, you can't lust after traditionally hot masculine men or hot feminine women. No, you have to go after the racially ambiguous, the ones who are queer coded. All these things, as opposed to normal attraction. You have to pretend to like someone who you don't actually like. Now, we can't have a good discussion on Gen Z dating habits without going into the cringe intersectional feminist range. Foster finds that skepticism around men who don these aesthetics is partly a conversation around privilege. The critique is that men are reaping the sort of social and symbolic set of rewards for participating in these feminized and sometimes queer aesthetics without bearing any of the costs that have typically circled around queer and marginalized men or women, Foster says. In this study on radical masculinities on TikTok, Foster found that the men who feel comfortable wearing dresses and drinking matcha are often men who already possess masculine capital, i.e. they're cisgender, white, conventionally attractive, middle or upper class, allowing them to dabble in these aesthetics more securely. He adds that these soft boy signifiers often have the reverse effect of focalizing their conventional attractiveness. Take, for example, Styles wearing a pink fringe vest that displays his six-pack abs, or actor Jeremy Allen White wearing tiny shorts that show off his muscular quads. I'll admit, they're close to getting it. What these men are doing is they're saying, look at me, I'm super hot, and I won't molest you. Well, you don't think I will, but I will. I love this line, masculine capital, saying cisgender, white, conventionally attractive, middle, or upper class is all masculine capital, things that have nothing to do with who you are or what you do. And yeah, you can't have masculine capital if you aren't a cisgender male. You're not masculine then. It isn't just that these signifiers seem strategic or shallow, but rather they can read as misleading. The Me Too movement showed us that even supposed nice guys could be capable of alleged manipulation and abuse. That, in fact, they could use their enlightenment as a kind of shield. Now, the kind of guy who goes to therapy while also treating his partner badly has become flattened into a starter pack style meme. The faux enlightened man has become frequent observation in pop culture. Well, yes, because the whole thing about that Me Too exposed is the men who play the nice guy, the ones who they are using it as a shield. Look at me, I'm so performatively nice, I'm so performatively empathetic, and I'm so performatively feminine that I can't possibly be a predator. But they're really just the ones donning a camouflage as a way to sneak in and hide and get it. And let's be very clear. The only men who are doing this are the ones touting extreme feminist propaganda. Very few men actually believe in feminist theories. I mean, the show Modern Family did it perfectly. The moment you get a girl to go out with you, or the moment you get rejected, all of your feminist literature goes out the window. Because you're only doing it to perform a performance for women. You're saying, look at me, I'm such a good feminist boy, now date me. But there's quite the fun line down right here under the label, is there too much distrust between sexes? Well, no, not entirely. Men know where women are. Men are fully aware of where women are at, how they don't like most men, how they are performing this misandry, this hatred. We are fully aware of that. Women, however, because of the culture they have created, the ones that they have fostered in the dating world, they're programmed to have to be distrustful because the men who actually appease to them are going to be the ones faking it. So men know where women are at. Women don't know where men are at because a lot of men have had to change their style to align with this feminist freakout that we've been locked into. So no, it's not hostility and distrust between the sexes, it's women can't trust men because women ruin the dating market. But also the performative male trend is aligned with much of the hostility we're seeing in dating writ large. We don't trust that anyone's intentions are good. And that's what I was saying earlier. If you date liberals, you're going to find that most of them are sharks in the water pretending to be guppies. But if you date conservative men, you date the nerdy men, the ones who women generally don't give a try at because of everything Homath talks about. Go watch his videos for a great breakdown. Basically, dating at your level. So 4s dating 6s, of course the 6s are going to be cruel. 4s dating 4s, maybe you'll find that he's much more aligned with you on a personal level. But it is really hard to take anyone who's shocked by this revelation seriously. When you look at this article from Medium, where this woman had pretended to be MAGA to see how men would react, specifically mostly targeting liberal men anyway, and she'd always start every conversation with, I am MAGA, by the way, and just as a way to make it very clear. And of course, most of the liberal men immediately on the spot changed their beliefs to better match with her. But of course, because it's put up by Medium under LGBTQ plus pride stories, not sure how this relates to pride, but go off, queen. This article is actually riddled with extreme misandry and just general sexism, as well as taking any kind of accountability away from women for what they've done to the dating market. Because of course, you know the challenge, 100 women versus accountability. Accountability wins every time. Now, they did first start off by targeting women, with a man pretending to be British saying that they're MAGA. And the women got very pissed off, with one of them, I just love women, like, they're so dumb, it's so great. So, the guy says, hi, I'm MAGA, I'm about to give you a lesson, British boy. We don't joke about that in the States, assuming this is a joke, because you don't give MAGA vibes. As a soon-to-be lawyer, I am excellent at vibe reading. Women, please never change. I already know she's white. White women never change because that is exactly what they always do. They're so proud. They are so infatuated with their own perception of their skills. They think they're borderline mind readers just because they have a little bit of empathy, but they don't even know what that word actually means. But the hi, I'm MAGA message reigned completely different when it was sent to men, particularly liberal men. I mean, one thing that they talk about is that only one man ever bothered to unmatch from the hi, I'm MAGA woman. Though, of course, there are a lot of other issues, such as we're not allowed to see what the profiles look like. We don't even know what the fake profiles look like based on the reports that I've seen. And a lot of it's locked behind paywalls that I'm not interested in getting into. I mean, such as one man who is framed as being a liberal saying, it's not a problem at all, I kind of like him too, despite his profile virtue signaling liberalism based on the article that I've read, though, of course, it doesn't show it in this specific article. But here's where Medium loses the plot. Now, this isn't an issue with women ruining the dating environment, because let's be very clear. The reason why so many men will perform liberalism to find partners is a lot of women refuse to date anybody right of Marx. They have an issue where they can't actually conceive of somebody else's politics, and so they refuse to date anyone who does not directly align with them, and that is a major issue. It's caused the massive break between male and female political leaning, as men have moved significantly back towards the center, whereas women have moved extremely far left, creating a huge dichotomy between male and female politics. So women won't date men outside of their political range, so men have to perform femininity as a way to attract these women. And the funniest part is, Medium blames the entire thing on men entirely, as though it's our fault that women's standards have shifted so egregiously to no longer align with reality, and men aren't following them. That's the real issue, is that women's standards have changed a lot in a very short period of time, and most men are not willing to be inauthentic enough to affirm that. But instead, Medium says it's all of men's faults for being too evil. And the most pathetic part is the same men will turn around and whine about women. They'll blame women for the decline of dating, for birth rates going down, for being too picky, too woke, or too feminist. Now, this line is my favorite one because it's talking about the men who will fake their politics. The men who are lying about being liberals are not the same men complaining that women are ruining the dating market, that they're too picky, too woke, or too feminist. No, conservative men are making those complaints. Liberal men are faking their belief. Conservative men are not faking their beliefs. In fact, most of the time, conservative men will either not talk about their beliefs to make the women possibly more interested in them, or they will be very proud and brazen with their conservative beliefs. So you are blaming some men who do one action, and you're conflating them with the men who believe something. These are two different groups of men, and by conflating them, you're just painting all men as some kind of horrendous caricature who just hate women. Of course, I know that's your goal. Maybe the reason why this is under the LGBTQ plus category of papers is they're secretly trying to convince more women to be lesbians, because lesbians are far nicer and less likely to lie, even though we know the domestic abuse statistics. It's not feminism or women's standards that ruin modern dating, it's this culture of fake empathy and fake progressivism. If you don't believe in something, fine, but don't exploit other people's values just to get what you want. But why is there a culture of fake empathy and fake progressivism? Of course, they use the word empathy again. They don't know what empathy means. They don't know what the word means, and they never have and they never will. And that's whatever. It's women being women. But ask yourself, Medium, why is there a culture of men faking progressivism? If it isn't because of feminism or women's standards, what else would it be? Why would men be faking it if it wasn't the only way to garner support and attraction from women? It proves what women already know, but often feel crazy for saying. Men lie. They lie to get matches, to get dates, to get sex. They wear whatever label works. Today it's liberal, tomorrow it's feminist, next week it's non-political, as long as it helps them match with women. They pretend to believe whatever they need to. It's not about values, it's about access. And yet, somehow, women still get blamed for the mess that dating has become. They're almost self-aware. This actually pains me, how close to being self-aware Medium is. So let's be very clear. Yes, men lie to have sex. Women also lie all the time. Not necessarily to have sex, I'll guarantee you that, but they do lie a lot more. And once again, let's be very clear. Women control access to sex. Yes, sure, some men can be a little rude and do a little migrant action onto a poor British young girl, but that's a rare case. Men generally don't commit rape or sexual assault. That's very, very, very rare outside of families. And even in families, it's still a really rare occurrence. But the odds of a random man having a non-consensual sex with a random woman basically doesn't happen. It's incredibly rare. So, as a general rule, women control access to sex. They dominate it, they demand it, and they decide who it is that gets to reproduce, as a general rule. So why are men performing femininity, apolitical, liberal, or feminist agendas to get sex? Because women have decided that's the only thing they'll put out to. And more importantly, why is it men's fault that women don't have better filtering? I'm not going to have sex with somebody on the first date as a general rule. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm not going to run into a situation where I'm going to be having sex with somebody who might be lying to me, because I will actually wait until I know I can trust the person, until I know that there's actually something there to justify a relationship. Whereas a lot of women, they'll just put out on the first date because they think they're dating a nice little feminist boy who deserves a good reward for being a good little boy. So it is still women who are causing this culture. Yes, men are lying to take advantage of the culture, but men didn't set it up. This undercover experiment totally exposed the truth about modern dating. It showed that even the nice guys who say they're progressive can be just as fake and manipulative as the ones who openly talk down to women. Oh, God, I hate feminists. Why can't you use your brain? No. What this study showed is that the progressive men, the nice guys, are the liars. They are the manipulators. They are the ones faking it. And the other men are not. What it shows is that a small subset of men, the ones who are seen as safe, the ones who are seen as progressive, the ones who are seen as all of these phenomenal labels, they are the threat, they are the danger. And the average man, the person who isn't performing this kind of faux femininity, is not the danger. And what it shows is that women need to reassess who they are targeting in the dating market. Most of the so-called liberal men are just pretending. They don't care about feminism, equality, or any of the values they stick in their bios. They slap feminist and BLM supporter on their Tinder profile not because they believe in those things, but because they know it makes women feel safer. It gets them attention, it gets them sex, that's it. They're not allies, they're manipulators. And that is actually quite a lot of them. But here's one other thing that a lot of these men will do that women don't know. These men aren't lying because they legitimately convince themselves of these values. They've been inundated with these beliefs, they copy these beliefs, and yes, they'll drop them at the drop of a dime, but they do legitimately believe these liberal stances. They're not faking their stances, they've just convinced themselves of them so that they can attract mates. Because if it was a lie, they'd be easily called out on it, and they could be caught much easier. So they actually convince themselves they're true. This can be seen very evidently by watching a lot of these hyper-liberal content creators. Go and watch Destiny. You mean to tell me Destiny doesn't actually believe what he's saying? He's clearly performing. He clearly has false beliefs, but he doesn't believe his beliefs are wrong. He believes his beliefs are true, even though he's lying. So in other words, these liberal men, they believe the lie they're telling. So yes, they're lying about their beliefs, but they believe in the lie. But of course, because this article was written by a woman, because of course it was, they have to go down and say, this is why modern dating feels broken, because it's not just about ghosting or bad communication, it's about deep, calculated emotional dishonesty. Men want the benefits of progressive dating, women who are emotionally intelligent, sexually free, independent, but without putting in the emotional labor of being honest about who they are. No, men don't want that. Some men might. The men we're talking about who fake who they are online, yes, they want that because they want an easy lay they can pump and dump and then tell the woman they empowered her by just using her as an object. That's this very small group of men who actually want this kind of dating style because it ruins romance for everybody else. Studies have shown that only having 2 to 3 sexual partners before marriage significantly increases the odds of your marriage failing. These kind of men don't want long-term relationships, and they are a strong minority. They do not represent the average man. But because Medium can't look past their own biases, their own sexism, their own hatred and misandry and bigotry, they're stuck thinking that all men are like this because it's just the performative men who are. Whereas actual men, the ones who aren't doing this, the ones who aren't on dating apps, the ones who aren't faking their political beliefs, aren't going to be a piranha in the pool. They're not lying. It's only the very specific group of liberal men you're looking at who are lying. And it is most liberal men who are lying. So the message here isn't to hate more men, to be more distrustful. The message here is, it's time to rethink where your attraction lies. It's time to rethink who you value in the dating market, and it's time to reflect, be honest, and, try readjusting so you're actually going after the men who exist. But that causes the core issue. It requires you to take accountability. It requires you to confront your beliefs and ideology. I've seen a lot of women on dating apps who say that they won't date anybody who's ever voted for Trump, that they won't vote for anyone who's taking away their rights. These women are staunched in false beliefs, in things that aren't real, never happened and never would happen, but they're convinced that they are real. And that would require them to have a complete mental rework, something that's very hard for people to do, especially when you're raised in a culture that you're beautiful no matter what, you're a 10 no matter what, and you don't have to take accountability. When you aren't held to those standards, of course you're not going to change. But it is up to you to be the one to make that change so that you can live a better life. But that's pretty much all I've got. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this, and I will see you guys on the next one.